For the latest top tips, reviews and advice, please subscribe below.
Hello and welcome to Attwoolls Outdoors with me, Mike. Some of you guys a bit of a review video on a product from CampTech. So with me here today, I have got the CampTech Savanna DL awning. So this basically sits kind of in CampTech's sort of full awning range, and it's actually classified in their all-season category. So this one sits just below the Atlantis. Now, the reason and what it does is a few differences which obviously make it more of a price-pointed awning in CampTech's range in comparison to the Atlantis. So we'll talk through those features during this video. CampTech are a brand, if you've not really heard them, basically they are a sort of manufacturer of awnings, and the main thing they do is they almost cut a middleman out. So it means that essentially from a price point of view, what you get is incredibly good value for what you pay for, really. So the joys being is that actually in comparison to its probably competitor brands, be like Dorema or sort of Bradcott, that kind of ilk, generally, they tend to be much more price orientated in comparison with a similar-ish quality, I would say, to be honest. Now, what we've got here is this actually uses CampTech's SL18 fabric. So it is a all-season coated polyester. It's not quite as sort of substantial as, say, the Atlantis, which is the 21, but it still gives you an all-season material. Being polyester based, it's not necessarily breathable, but what it does mean is that you can have it up for extended periods of time. Now, new for the kind of the new season is you've got two options in terms of frame. If you're using it more of a seasonal pitch, i.e. having it for long periods of time and leaving it up, personally I'd recommend the normal steel frame. There is a fiberglass frame which obviously helps to make it a little bit lighter, but for me really you only want to be purchasing this if you have more touring use, just because it's a bit lighter, goes up and down, but more importantly the steel would be stronger from an overall frame perspective. Where this differs also in terms of from the Atlantis is the fact that the front panels are slightly different. So it's more of a true traditional awning that your front panels go up, down and down like so. In the Atlantis, what you find is actually you've got an up, a straight across and an up from this point. So you've got more flexibility arguably probably with the Atlantis, and hence why it's a little bit more in terms of its overall price. But nothing wrong with the classic kind of design, and it has its place in the market. Gives you a more traditional kind of opening on the side up here in that terms of door, so it's more of a door rather than saying being a window / door. So your panels are window panels are a little bit smaller on this in comparison to the Atlantis as well. But you still get the core features, things like your external all-season blinds. So it means you can have that down when you're off site and you're not going to get any sort of UV damage or mist coming into the window section itself. You can also have it sort of done up either way. There's a toggle point in the middle to keep it all nicely and neatly at bay. Same on the Atlantis as well. So what you can actually do is kind of roll the material up and then utilize that zip to kind of again hold it in place. So it keeps it kind of nice and tidy, so you can have different levels of parts if you really wanted to. And this there's no actual part holding it securely in place, but it gives you the option. Typically you'd have it fully up or fully down. Extra storm points are located on here, so you can buy additional guy ropes just to give yourself a bit more bounce and braces if you really wanted to. So they're featured around the awning. And obviously it depends on the size. They do everything from, I believe it's a size 4, I think, all the way up to a 22. So it's a really wide range, and pretty much you'll find a size that's going to fit your awning as well. One thing you also notice, you've got this little traditional kind of brow pole coming directly out, so you've got a bit of shelter away from the front panel. So if you want to create a little veranda with the front panel, you're not going to get rain coming directly in. And there's also a pole features there as well, so there's a bit more structure than just having the ones out. So again, it's an extra feature that you don't necessarily see. A little bit more size sculpture as well is going to also stop the wind coming necessarily in. And one thing I would recommend purchasing is some optional storm straps to go with it. So with this, the ones I would recommend, you can buy a pair of the sort of the main Techline ones that go on the side. There's 2 points for those, one at the front and one at the back. But you can also get the plus Techline straps, which allow you to go around the central and come directly down. So if for me, you probably get one of those and one of those to buy additionally, just to give yourself a bit more of a sturdy awning all round. The side panel also slightly differs to the Atlantis as well. So what you see is actually, rather than having No, I stand mistaken, sorry. The side panel is the same, so you've got almost like this front, the offset door. So what you find is you have, again, a designated door section and a designated window, but there seems to be almost a bit at the back located here as well. Now, what this essentially means is that you can interchange the panels. So you want to change the position of the door from, say, where it is now at the front to the back, exchange this panel with the one on the other side, and that allows you your door to be at the back of the caravan bar on the front. The window also on the side has external points. You lose that kind of traditional kind of trim that goes on the outside, which you get with the Atlantis as well, but it's more aesthetic than anything else, to be honest with you. The external blind is still located with here and goes down fully down to the bottom as you expect. PVC window is a sort of a halfway up, then you're into a mesh window here. You've still got PVC, so you've still got full PVC, but you can allow airflow coming directly in. So you've got the option to have the air coming through on a sort of a warm day, or to keep the rain fully out as well. And because the side panels and also the front panels completely removed, you have the luxury of actually packing and storing them separately. That means that when you're putting the main part through the rail, it makes it a lot easier because it's a bit lighter and there's less weight bearing through it. Other things to sort of mention is the fact we've got a sort of nice PVC skirt along the bottom, and then we've got ladder points all the way around, so you can, depending on what your ground you're on or how much tension you need, you can quite happily alter it throughout. But I'll tell you what, let's kind of take the camera inside, have a look on the inside of it and talk through some other features that the Savanna has to offer. So now we're inside of the Savanna, you can probably appreciate kind of the overall size of it. Obviously the width does alter depending on what size your caravan is and what awning you kind of opt to, but it's a standard sort of 240 depth, and because it's that more traditional frame, it means you've got a very flat front panel on the front here as well, which is, as you come to know with kind of CampTech's awnings in general. You've got spiral chain zips located on the front and also the side, so the joys of those actually is when you get to a sort of curving point, they tend to flow a bit easier in my personal opinion. And there's a range, obviously, roof bars that you get included as standard, and obviously the wider you go, the more roof bars you get. All of the, depending on whether you go for the fiberglass frame or you go for the steel, or depending on your purpose, as mentioned previously, you either get these these kind of clamps, so you can obviously alter the adjustment, pop it down, hold it up, and then clamp it in place. Failing that, often what you find is you've got the grip lock clamps, which you get on the normal steel sort of frames itself. The fiberglass is a bit lighter all around, like I said, just has a bit more kind of overall flex to it, a little bit more give. But where you've got clamps, then you meet certainly things like in the roof, for example, there's extra bit of fabric that goes around it, especially on kind of the fiberglass, to stop any rubbing going on. Naturally, with all of kind of CampTech's awnings, they tend to be reinforced in the main stress points in the corners, just to double layered and reinforce, just to give it a bit more of a a bit more subject to more wear and tear. Annexes can be purchased and you can have it go on either side if you really wanted to, so you can also extend out from there and buy bedrooms to go in there. And if you check out the Atlantis video we've done, we've kind of shown you an annex and kind of what it looks like in terms of its concept. Curtains come as standard with all of kind of the awnings, and you get them for all wherever you have windows. Nice and easy, they kind of just clip on and clip off. In fact, actually it's slightly different on these. I think they're going to move to it, the new clip off range. So it's actually a more traditional kind of awning rail system. That's how it is at the moment, but you still get a strap to keep that nice and tight to the panel, so you don't have any sort of gaps appearing. And then you've got your traditional kind of pre-sewn loops, which you just pop in, pop out. So admittedly for this kind of awning, you don't get any, you're not having to attach it or that, you just slot it directly in as just previously shown. Roof lines are available as well, so if you wanted something to give it more of a thermal barrier, that is an option you can also look at. I'll tell you, let's get a little bit of a look on up close with some of the clamps, just to give you a bit more of a better idea. So we can probably see the paneling, and you see obviously how that door setup is, so you can orientate it so you know that door is on the opposite side by changing it with the alternative panel. You've got the mesh part nice and neatly up there, and you can probably see the actual clamp there is slightly different to the clamps in the other range, and you've got the grain of kind of the fiberglass frame itself, which naturally, even though I can feel it there, is a bit lighter. And again, you've got a reinforced kind of, I'd say it's probably plastic, more kind of clips in the corners, and like I said, it's more orientated for touring use than seasonal. And you've got the extra bit of skirt again in PVC to take up any gaps you've got along the base of the caravan. As you kind of come out and have a little bit more look around it, we'll give a bit more 360 view around it. So we've got, that's how you've got to leave it when it's on kind of a pitch, and then go around. You can see obviously the difference between, but I think generally the kind of panel colour is quite nice and as a contrast. So if you like that awning, there's the Cayman colour, so you can see the difference in the colours between the two fabrics. I'm not sure, kind of pan to over there, you can probably just about see the difference. That's the Atlantis. So there's definitely more kind of a more kind of grey involved, and you've got this nice little red trim running sort of throughout of it as well, which I think again is a nice little kind of option. But we'll pop ourselves back inside and just talk about the final part to it. So overall, I think it's a really nice option. Again, something that if you want something all season that's not going to break the bank, I think it ticks an awful lot of boxes. You've got the alternative of the two frames. For me, I think the steel is going to be the one you go for, certainly for seasonal use, as previously mentioned. From a bag point of view, a bag comes supplied. Normally you get a bag like such, which is going to be the main canvas bag, and then you also have then a separate bag for the frame itself. So it packs down to two bags quite nice and neatly. As standard with all of the Savanna range as well, you do get your giraffe skirt included as standard, your wheel arch cover, your figure of eight to connect the two, and your suctions to go above that, above the wheel arches. So again, that's all standard with the pegs included as well. So you get a really, again, for what you pay, a really nice sort of value product. And I think arguably I'd say probably it's one of the cheapest in terms of cost expectations. Kind of all season awning that you can pretty much purchase on the full side of things. So I think that does tick a lot of box. There is one other thing you can look at, like things like veranda poles to give you that kind of airflow, but still have that sort of privacy, and also from keeping the dogs certainly in. That is also definitely a consideration that's worthwhile. But all in all, for more information, feel free to check the link below this video. It'll take you through to the website. We have all information on pack sizes, different features, all of the sizes that are available and measurements, for example, as well as other videos about pitching and so forth. So by all means, have a look at that, and feel free to let us know your thoughts on the Savanna range. If you had one, if you liked it, where you go. It's always great to have feedback from the end user and the customer, apart from obviously ourselves itself. But thank you for watching, and hopefully we shall see you again soon.